You've been knocked down and got up again. In a corner, you're surrounded, no
Flats this time. That's a touchdown just off the bat.
You've hit your fury and kept it in. But it's time now you ignite and turn to embers. Like a phoenix, you burst in a fire burn. A thirst and desire, you transform right up in a flash. You spread your wings to rise from the ashes. Phoenix,
Home is more than a place. It's full of the people and moments that matter most. Providing for loved ones, expanding your horizons, or simply living the life you love. With all you have to protect, choose insurance you can count on so you can experience more of what you live for. Country Financial. Experience more.
Security Bank of Pulaski County, with two convenient locations in Waynesville and St. Robert, Missouri, is a proud supporter of the Waynesville Tigers and the Lady Tigers athletics, including all their sports and activities. Security Bank is a member FDIC equal housing home lender. They can provide home loans, auto loans, whatever type of loan you need, and whatever support you need, give Security Bank a call or visit them in Waynesville, St. Robert, Missouri. Welcome here to the St. James tournament tonight. This is our preview show. Also played before our first games this tournament here. I want to thank Security Bank of Pulaski County for being our main sponsor for the Waynesville Tigers. We'll have a quick word from them and we'll be back with a preview of the tournament coming up. Electric is a proud supporter of the Dixon Bulldogs and all the schools in their district in Pulaski County, Missouri, along with Marys County and other locations throughout Missouri. Good luck to the Bulldogs and Lady Bulldogs this season from Gas Osage Electric. G-Tech Fiber is built to last. Your local area internet run on Gas Osage Electric power poles. Reach out to Gas Osage Electric for all your G-Tech Fiber internet needs, whether you live rural or in the city. They can provide internet. Chris Pills Basketball is a proud supporter of Allen Hilliard Sports, Pocahontas Redskins, and the area schools. Allen Hilliard Sports will once again be providing the coverage of the Waynesville youth football for grades kindergarten all the way to 6th grade this year, from week 1 all the way to the championship in November. Games will start first week of September. Be sure to reach out, WIF Football, if you'd like to play. And first off, on the boys' side of things, it starts on Monday. It is Blair Oaks. They will have a bye. They will play their first game. That is scheduled on Thursday at 6:30 p.m. against the winner of Waynesville and Salem. So the first game on Monday is at 5 p.m. Waynesville and Salem will face off in that ball game. Waynesville Tigers and Salem have both fought this year, and both Tigers splitting wins in the last couple of years. So Waynesville and St. James hoping to come away with that. The winner will face Blair Oaks at 6:30 on Thursday. However, the loser will not play because they'll have a bye until 1:30 on Saturday, automatically to the consolation round. So a bit of an advantage there for the losing Tigers. And the winning Tigers will face one of the top teams in Missouri, and the Blair Oaks Falcons out of Jeff City. And we're going to take another short break here, and then we'll talk about the bottom half of the bracket. We also want to thank the Bank of Iberia and the Bank of Crocker for helping to support these ball games here. And we'll be back after this. Hilliard Sports would like to thank the Iowa Woo this year for allowing me to be their provider of live broadcasting services during their games up in Waterloo, Iowa. Be sure to check them out next season on the Arena League, the Iowa Woo.
1 in 10 kids vape. Each vape pod can contain the same amount of nicotine as a pack of cigarettes.
The health class film guy isn't the best person to talk to your kid about vaping.
Got a few minutes?
You are. Talk to your child about vaping today.
The Dixon Athletic Booster Club is a proud supporter of Allen Hilliard Sports and the Dixon community, as well as the Dixon athletic programs. Be sure to join the Booster Club. All the money goes to help support the Dixon athletes in the community, whether it be high school, middle school, baseball, basketball, whatever it is. Check out the Dixon Booster Club on Facebook to become a member. $200 to be a corporate sponsor on the video board in the gym. We are here with Coach Caruso here, and Coach Caruso, you have the St. James tournament coming up. You have a opponent that you faced earlier this year, and they won a game here in Waynesville, but obviously the year changes throughout the season here. How are you preparing to go into that game and the start of the St. James tournament?
You know, Alan, that game is in a really tough environment. On a neutral floor, you're playing a good opponent. We don't have school that day. You're playing a team that you've already played, so they already have a good scout on us. You know, it's a recipe for things to possibly go wrong. So, but you know, we say, hey, you're going to be in those kinds of environments when you get to districts. You know, and these tournaments are opportunities to prepare for postseason play. So that's how we're going to treat this. It's going to be a hostile environment, neutral floor, no school. But I feel like our guys have done a great job of remaining resilient. They fought through a couple of really tough games this past week. I feel like that's building some momentum for us. So, you know, all credit to them for as good as they are. But, you know, I like where my guys are trending right now.
All right, you talked about some close games. You've had I believe, an overtime game. You've had a couple other games just down to the wire that you've come out on the winning side of here. How's that momentum kind of push ahead into the coming week here?
Well, you know, you always want to be playing your best basketball later in the year, and I feel like that's where we're getting to. And I don't know if you know this, Alan, but, you know, Fox, we beat them by, I believe it was 23 or 24 earlier in the season. We played Northwest at our shootout. I think we won by 3 or 4. Anyways, what I'm trying to get to is the game after us, Fox went and played Northwest, a team that gave us some trouble, and they beat those guys by 23. So I think that goes to show you where Fox is and what it took for us against Fox to get it done. You know, when we played Fox, we just gotten beaten by Branson by 30 plus. We had imploded in the fourth quarter against a good Republic team when we had the lead going to fourth. So, you know, for us to fight in that game, for us to fight in the Camdenton game, it shows that we're building some grit, we're building some resilience. So I think we're really prepared well to go into this, you know, as the 4 seed to try and make some good headway.
All right, and then as a 4 seed, inevitably you will run into I believe Rolla may be the 2 seed in that this year, so you
Blair Oaks
will not run into them, but you'll run into a Blair Oaks team, which every year in that tournament they're just a very tough team coming out of the Jeff City area.
Well, I'm not going to guarantee that we will play Blair Oaks. You know, that's why you play the games.
Well, it's in the path if you go that way. It is in
the path if we go that way. If we're lucky enough to get there, you know, Blair Oaks brings great size, great athleticism. They're really well coached by Coach Voss, Old Liberia Ranger coach. Yep. You know, he has those guys playing really well. They played Rolla earlier in the season. They beat them by 12. So, you know, that they're an opponent that's state ranked, I believe in Class 5, maybe Class 4.
They're coming off a very good football season again.
And a very good football season. So, you know, there's some tradition that's there. So, you know, Coach Voss will have those guys prepared. I know that they're looking forward to maybe trying to get to that St. James Tournament championship game. But, you know, whoever's in their way is going to try to be a tough out for them.
Yep. All right. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Or this week. See you.
There's just one place where students are students first.
and athletics are played with purpose and perspective, that place is your local high school. High school sports offer more than the joy of competition. Studies show that student athletes are also likely to enjoy greater levels of achievement in other areas of their lives, including academics. High school sports, a winning part of a complete education.
And the bottom half of the boys bracket will feature the Rolla Bulldogs, and it will feature the Cuba Wildcats in the first ball game. I believe that is the 2 seed. Rolla losing to Blair Oaks earlier to give them the 2 seed. Blair Oaks got the 1 seed because of that. And then the second game, that game of course will be at 6:30 on Monday. At 8 p.m. our nightcap game is the St. James Tigers against the Stillville Cardinals. So St. James, a much more improved Tigers team this year coming in. And the Stillville Cardinals, a very solid smaller team in the past. We'll see if they can rekindle some of that spirit there tonight, as they'll play at 8 p.m. Now the winner of that game will play at 8 p.m. on January 22nd. The loser will play at 5:30 on January 22nd. That's this coming Thursday. And then the winner of both of the winners and the losers will play on Saturday. The losers will play at 1:30 in the consolation game. Meanwhile, the winners will play at 7:30 p.m. on Saturday for the championship, or the winners will. So we're going to take another break here, and we're going to have a word from the Waynesville Tigers basketball coach about the upcoming tournament here and how things have been going for Waynesville. We'll be back after this. ZCM Timber Harvesting is a supporter of Allen Hilliard Sports and the Iberia Rangers and Lady Rangers in this basketball tournament. I want to thank them for being a big sponsor of this tournament once again. Go Rangers and Lady Rangers. Good luck from ZCM Timber Harvesting. Shelton Welding Custom Fab and Repair in Dixon, Missouri. Give them a call for all of your needs on your trucks, your home, whatever it may be. If it's a welding job, Shelton Welding and Custom Fab and Repair can make it right.
The innocence of youth. Is there anything any better? But soon they'll be in high school and facing all the same challenges you faced. How to make friends, how to fit in, how to be cool. We want our children to have everything they'll need to live fulfilling and productive lives. Make sure the kids in your family are among the more than 290,000 participants here in Missouri who take part in high school sports or activities.
And back here again, we are bringing you the girls preview now. Appreciate you for joining us for tonight's ball games here. First game is a 3:30 matchup, which will be live on the St. James Huddle camera. I will not have that ball game here, but that will feature Norwood and Gateway Legacy Christian out of St. Louis. That's the 1-8 seed ball game. The winner will play at 6:30 on Friday, January 23rd. The loser will play at 3:30 on Friday, January 23rd. The second game of the night will feature the Waynesville Tigers again in that second game. Another 5 p.m. start. They'll face the Stillville Lady Cardinals, going off against the former Lady Cardinal there from Philip Gamble. We'll have an interview from him from earlier this year talking about the upcoming season that he has had already and is coming up still. And of course we'll have an interview with the Waynesville Lady Tigers coach. We're going to take a short break, then we'll have those interviews for you. We'll be right back after this. All right, we are here with Philip Gamble, the girls coach at Stillville this year. So, Coach Gamble, how are things down? Moved from Licking to Stillville there, kind of a change of scenery a little bit.
Yeah, it's a big change of scenery, and we made the move as a family several months ago, and family's real happy with where we're at. It's a great school district to work for, working with some great girls playing basketball, of course, and great community, really, just a real friendly community. A lot of great people here, and we're happy. Our family's real happy.
All right, and then I was at the Jamboree. You were playing Rolla and Waynesville there. Looked pretty decent there. Some of the girls seemed like they were starting to get in things, and you were working some new things in it. Looked like things were starting to click pretty well.
Yeah, and we've got some really good, fundamentally sound players. This group of girls right here that we have, with the exception of a couple graduates last year. I mean, they played in state quarterfinals last year. They were playing some pretty good basketball at the end of the season last year, and there's some girls there that are fundamentally sound. They're hungry basketball players. I mean, they love the game of basketball, and they're just eager to learn, and they've been 100% bought in since day one, and really couldn't ask for anything more from a group of girls or a group of players. Just like I said, we worked some things in that Jamboree the other day, and I thought we looked pretty good in some areas, and there's some areas we need to work on, and we worked on some of that stuff this morning, and like I said, the girls are willing to. They're just willing and eager. Very coachable, very coachable. So, I'm real proud of our progress so far.
All right, and then we'll have, of course, your first game is, I believe, against Dixon. I don't think you have a game before that.
Yeah, we play next Tuesday, 25th, here in Stillville, Stillville High School. Our girls play, and then our boys play. So it's going to be a fun, great night to get the season kicked off. Girls have started off. Not sure about that first game start time, and then the boys JV and the boys varsity play, and it's going to be a great way to get the season kicked off. I know Dixon's got two really good teams over there, boys and girls, and I think it's going to be a great start for us, a great challenge right off the bat. I know Coach Ballard over there at Dixon does a great job, so we're looking forward to it.
All right, and then besides the first game there, what kind of follows that up as you don't have a conference schedule like you did in the Frisco League where you start out playing all your conference schools in a tournament, or most of them. So what's kind of your schedule look like going into Christmas at least?
Well, we're going to be challenged right off the start here this season. We've got 4 straight home games to start the season. We're going to play, of course, Dixon next Tuesday. Then we play North County. And then we play St. James, and then we play Richland, and all 4 of those games are at home. And then we go off to the Park Hills Christmas tournament over Christmas break. So our first 7 or 8 ball games are going to be challenges right off the bat. And like I said, with our kids, with the girls coming in, with their willingness, I mean, they practice hard, they play hard, so. It's just going to make us better for the season.
All right, and then looking in probably districts, if they're anything like volleyball, you may have a chance at going back to Dixon for districts again, or having Dixon and very similar teams in your basketball district again.
Yeah, that district has not came out. That information has not came out yet, but it looks to be, with Dixon not co-oping with Newburgh this year, that'll move them more than likely back to Class 3, which would, it probably more than likely put us in the same district with Dixon. So, next Tuesday, that much more important because it's a district game, which could help with the seeding part of it coming toward the end of the season. And And then again, we could get sent north. I know Steelville's been sent north over the years for districts. So there's no telling, the way it'll come out. But however it comes out, we're just going to have to, you're really in control of your own destiny. You get out each night and you have a chance to outscore your opponent or you have a chance not to. So, of course, the goal is always to outscore your opponent. And that's going to be our goal there, is to come out and win the effort battle each night and be the most fundamentally sound team and try to outscore, our opponents each night.
All right. And I've always been told and use the old adage that it's better to win the games and have to sit there at the end of the season and hope someone's going to lose a game to make a playoff. So it's better to get the job done when you're in control than it is to wait for someone else to do it.
You're exactly right, and that's kind of the point I was getting to there too. Is you're always in control of your own destiny, especially with the game of basketball, and you gotta play and beat the teams that you're playing against, and really let everything fall into place.
All right, appreciate that, Coach, and good luck. We'll see you on Tuesday.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Appreciate you.
Hatch on Highway 28 is your local gas station for all your small grocery needs. Also, your Hunt's Brothers pizza provider, making it fresh in the store and keeping it warm under the lights for you. Multi flavors to choose from. You get 3 for $30. Also, all your snacks, chips, whatever you need, down to your beverages and down to your sweet snacks. Check out Dog Patch. The Dixon School District has been a sponsor of Allen Hilliard Sports for many years now and continues to provide sponsorship. They have 3 state-of-the-art schools, including a high school, middle school, and an elementary school, all in Dixon, Missouri, serving the Dixon and St. Robert area children. Be sure to check them out at their new admin building on the corner downtown, just off of Main Street, the Dixon School District, Dixon, Missouri. All right, we are here with Coach Snicker, the Waynesville girls coach here. Coach Snicker, you coming off a rough night last night and having a very good performance against a Northwest team here. What was kind of different than last night here, and some good performances by really the team overall in this ball game here. It seemed like a lot more cohesive than last night.
Yeah, we struggled last night putting the ball in the hoop, and then we lost a little bit of our confidence and kind of got down, and so we had lapses on defense. And so tonight we really worked on getting our legs back last night after the game, and then tonight, like, our big thing was, hey, let's play together, let's play smart, and I thought we did a good job of helping each other, communicating, and sharing the ball, and taking the shots that we needed to take. Again, last night we took good shots. We just didn't get them to fall, so we kind of struggled offensively, which led to our defensive lapse last night to where the game got out of hand. And so we fixed that piece of it. We're looking to really try to put a run together now, and that's what we talked about just now.
All right, and you're going into the St. James tournament. Your opponent is the Steelville Lady Cardinals there, a team that not too many teams this area has played except for the Dixon Bulldogs, which is a very good team, and they won kind of a somewhat close game at the beginning of the year there. So Steelville, a young team, and they're a quick team here. How do you prepare for a team like that you don't really see a whole lot of, or is that one that you just kind of prepare your team the way they're going, and if you play a good game?
Yeah, so we saw them in Rolla at the Jamboree. It was us, them, and Rolla. And, of course, we're different than we were at the Jamboree, and so are they. They play hard. They have a couple good players that can score and really attack the goal. They play aggressive, and like I said, they play fast, try to speed you up a little bit in a zone and in a press. But it's really about us focusing on us right now. It's not about us focusing on somebody else. We just got to play our game, play together, defensively and get better each night. And each practice we talk about getting 1% better. And so tonight we got better. We needed to fix some things, and we did. But now we got to take steps forward against a good Steelville team.
All right, Coach. Good luck. We'll talk to you during the tournament.
All right, thank you.
Yep. And we are back here, the bottom half of the bracket, a very tough Fatima Comets basketball team. They will face Blair Oaks. That game will be live only on St. James Networks there. That'll be a 6:30 start. They'll face Southern Boone, who we've seen in this tournament in the past. And then the final game of the night will be a cat fight here, be the St. James Lady Tigers facing the Licking Lady Wildcats. And St. James coming in as the higher seed here. There'll be the nightcap game at 8:30 p.m. Licking coming in with some losses on the season, but a very tough basketball team. So we'll see how competitive that game can be there. I think it could be a very tough ball game here. We'll have an interview from Steve Risler from earlier in the year also, to talk about the season that was coming up and some things there after the Frisco League tournament, if we have that interview available there. And then we will be back to close out the pregame show, brought to you by Security Bank of Pulaski County. All right, we are here with Steve Risler, the Licking Girls head coach. Coach Risler, you've been coaching for, it's been a while now, and you've been through a couple graduation cycles here, and you're having one of those where kind of the remnants of those state championship teams is starting to graduate off and has graduated off. And so how do you look into a season like this where you got a lot of young kids coming in, and the young kids very successful at that?
Yeah, we're just going to try to simplify things and make it as easy as possible for the younger kids to transition to the varsity level and have success. So we've cut the playbook down dramatically. We're just going to stick to one basic defense, one basic offense, and just try to be really good at that so they don't have to think really. They can just play and use their athleticism.
All right, and then obviously basketball season, jamboree season, it's that couple weeks now, week and a half, where all the teams get their jamborees in here. Did you have yours, or is yours coming up? And if it did, how did your team do so far?
Yeah, we played at Fatima on Friday night with Blair Oaks and Fatima, and we did okay. It was, I think, it's not really for score, but we won our fair share of quarters, and got to play a bunch of kids and got to look at a bunch of different things, and then we got to play against two pretty good programs that did multiple defenses, ran multiple stuff. They played a bunch of kids also, so it was a good night for sure.
All right, and then also the coming in, you have the normal Frisco League tournament as usual every year. I think you are the 4 seed. You're right in the middle, if I remember right on that. 3 or 4 seed, somewhere in that middle bracket range of it. But, how do you go into this year looking at some of the teams have really jumped around in the seeding this year compared to where they normally have been in the past?
Yeah, we're the 4 seed, and we drew Dixon, who will be, they'll be young. They've got that real good group that's freshmen now in high school. So nobody really knows what to expect from them yet, but I think they're going to be solid. And then Crocker, everybody kind of knew Crocker was going to be the 1 seed. They returned the most, had a successful year last year, and added some decent freshmen also. So, and then I think 2 seeds Iberia, he had an undefeated JV season last year, and they actually won the conference and the conference tournament. And then Richland returns Moss and Cardoz, and they're the 3 seeds.
Okay, and then looking at your schedule coming up, any big games? I know you like to schedule some pretty tough competition out of your class to get yourself ready for particularly the postseason where the games can get very tough, along with some of the area games. You got some rivalries down there in Texas County and some of those teams closer to you down there that the northern teams don't have in the Frisco League.
Right, yeah, I'd say one of those teams is Thayer. They've become a Class 2, Class 3 power in the last 10 years or so, and they're going to be good again. We don't play them till late. I think early we opened with the rivalry game against Salem in the Big Cat Classic. We played boys and girls on the same night. I think it starts at 4 o'clock, and then we play JV, varsity. So it's a pretty cool night. And then we always have our rivalry with Houston, but it's just based on location. We're 15 miles from Houston and 20 miles from Salem, so that has a lot to do with it.
Now, one thing I noticed down in this area is there's a lot of tigers and wildcats, and, well, there's not very many bobcats, but Thayer's a bobcat, but there's a lot of cat animals in this part of Missouri.
Yeah, I think, back when schools were being built, they must have had an obsession with cats or something. I don't know.
Because even some schools that used to be tigers changed their names because everyone else was tigers back in the 1920s through the 1950s.
I didn't know that.
Yep, Camdenton was one of them. They used to be the Orange and Black Tigers. So think what that rivalry could have looked like for Waynesville if they didn't change their mascot. Could have been an interesting rivalry. But anyways, do appreciate your time here, and we will talk to you during the Frisco League tournament, and I'm sure you'll stop by, or hopefully you'll stop by during one of the games you're not playing in and give some words of advice like always.
Yes, I'll come talk to you.
All right, so when is your first official ball game? Is it Frisco League tournament, or do you have
Salem.
The Salem games before the tournament then?
Yeah, we just play Salem on the 25th. And then we'll play on that opening Saturday in the Florida game against Dixon.
All right, sounds good. Well, I will be there, and it'll be live on Allen Hilliard Sports also, along with, I believe, I think Lakeway will also have a huddle feed coming out and possibly some radio. So plenty of coverage to watch, and we will talk to you later.
All right. Thanks, Alan. Yep. Thanks for covering.
The following is a presentation of the Missouri Sports Network.
Certainly glad you tuned in, and as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us to take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Well, this is something I've worked on now for about 5 years. An opportunity here to go back and kind of relive January the 18th of 1998 in the Tournament of Champions. And Teddy Dupay and Scott Breakbill are along with head coach for the Bolivar Liberators, Darren Archer. And Teddy, first off, hey, thanks for being part of the show today.
Oh, sure thing. This is cool. I'm glad you guys asked me to jump on.
And Scott Breakbill, you as well, and you are quarantined there, in your pickup right now.
Yep, this is my home for a few weeks, I guess, working out of the truck. But thanks for having me on as well. And always good to rehash some good memories.
Yeah, Coach Archer alongside here, and we're maintaining as much social distancing as we can. But Darren, thanks for coming by today.
You bet, my pleasure.
And Teddy, we were talking a little bit off the air, but going back to that winter of 1998, what are some things that really stand out to you about the Tournament of Champions?
Really impressive, and like I said, this is cool to be talking to you guys so long later. I remember, it was just an unbelievable tournament. They treated us really well. We went to a lot of places to play that year. We were like a circus sideshow, and it's because we were fun to watch. But, we were saying as kids, anytime you had a packed house, that was great. Anytime you had baskets that weren't attached to the ceiling, that was really great. Anytime you had seats with fans on all four sides, now you really thought it was playing big-time basketball. So it was a lot of fun. The games were great, high-quality basketball, knowledgeable fans. but as we were talking about, some of the things I most remember were the things that didn't happen on the court, and that's kind of the beauty of youth sports is building friends, building relationships, learning the life skills that are going to last you forever. So great tournament, but a great experience overall.
And Scott, you would actually play in that facility later as a collegiate player, but going back to that year in 1998, what are some memories that stand out to you?
Well, obviously living in this area, we were very familiar with the tournament champions. Most of us got to go to it growing up, and just to hear Balder's name be announced to play in that tournament, it was a year-long, build-up and anticipation to be able to step on that floor. We've had some past experiences and success on that floor, getting to play the blue and gold tournament every year, and previously winning it the year before. So we had some success on that floor, so we were excited, and obviously to hear what names, what teams from where across the country were going to come. And even just for us to get to see and watch them play was exciting. But to actually step on the court and get to compete and show everybody, our skill level versus theirs was, it was amazing.
And Coach Archer, that we were visiting, you've been here a little while, and just talking about some of the things that stand out to you about that particular tournament champions.
Well, just the quality of tournament and the quality teams that they bring into that tournament, and the first-class job that they do in running the tournament. And it's really neat to see how it's evolved over the years. And I think CBS Sports broadcast some of the games now, and so it was a big thing back then, and it's grown even bigger and better currently.
So as a coach, you're coming in, you've got Teddy Dupay, the leading scorer in the country. Mm-hmm. What are you doing to prepare for Mr. Dupay?
You don't. I told our guys at the beginning of the tournament, and Scott may remember this, I said, hey, this is probably the only time during the season we're going to play as underdogs, so enjoy that moment. And I also said, let's do something to put our name in the record books. And little did I know that after that game, I think there were 8 or 9 records broken in that single game. And now when I told our guys that, I didn't want the versus Bolivar to be at the end of that record, but quite a few of them were. But it was an awfully fun night.
As you look back, Teddy Dupay, on that night, you had 52 points, which is still, or 58 points, I'm sorry, which is still the tournament champion single game record, as well as you had 38 points in the game against Hartville, so 129 points in the tournament, which is also still the tournament record. What about that night stands out? You had 13 threes, which is also a single game record. What that had to be exciting.
Yeah, well, if I remember, wasn't the old record before that game? Didn't we both break it? Didn't Scott and I both break it that night?
You did.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty neat, I think.
Yeah, I can remember you guys maybe meeting at half court and shaking hands, and I was sitting next to a guy named Dwayne Banner, and I said, "There's 100 points at mid court right there, just between the two of you." What was it like during the game? Did you have much interaction?
Yes and no. I think we were. It's kind of hard to explain. Scott will understand. Rarely, when you're a guy like us, do you really run into somebody who's willing to step up and fight back? Like, everybody's motivated at the beginning, but then once you start doing what you're doing, it doesn't take an opponent very long to realize they're overmatched, if that makes sense at all. You take somebody's will to fight. I can count them in my head, how many times we've run into somebody who was equally as good on the other end. And gosh, one time I think of a guy, Mateen Cleaves, when they beat us in a national championship game. I knew he was good. I knew he was strong. But then once we got out there and you really saw how people responded to him, how much command he had, how much respect he had from his coach, you knew you were in for a big fight. And he would tell you the same. You remember those people who really earn your respect, because of their quality. And I think that's something that sticks out in the game. The other thing is that the guys fouled me on every single shot. Refs were not giving us the calls.
Do you remember that? Is that the case, Scott, where you guys fouling them on every shot?
Oh, absolutely. And luckily for me, we like you asked about if we had any situations on the court. Luckily, I didn't have to guard him. I was a big guy, so I think we threw everybody else, including the water boy, out there trying to guard him, and we double teaming him, and we still couldn't stop him. I think it was I don't even know who it was, but I think we poked him in the eye once, and he still made it from half court. And, someone hit him in the stomach, and he still made it. It just continuously throughout the game. Once he started going, it was obvious that there wasn't much that was going to stop him.
Scott, you're absolutely right. I finally gave up and tried to double team him and put Andy Ruth and Michael Katrash on him. And if you guys remember, the old coaching boxes were right there where at the end of the bench. And Teddy, we were double teaming you, and you pulled up. I swear I could have reached out and touched you. You pulled up. One of my kids hit you in the stomach. The other one poked you in the eye, and you still hit the three. And they both looked at me, and I just shrugged my shoulders. I said, "Guys, I don't know what to tell you."
Well, I got to tell you, I still play every day. I'm still working, trying to get better. Got to improve my shot and my skills because the old body, it slows down a little when you get old.
Well, and Scott, and a question for both of you. We'll start with Scott. Talk about some of the teammates that you had back then and their experience and what it was like to be able to enjoy that atmosphere. Even though that was a fifth place game, it was a tremendous atmosphere. But that just the guys that you shared that atmosphere with.
It was, and really, for us, we were all kids that grew up together for the most part. So we've been playing together for years, and to get to step onto the court, and we knew it was going to be, our last game at the tournament champions. We wanted to, like Coach said, we wanted to put our stamp at the tournament champions as a local team that stood up to this competition. And little did we know what we were actually getting into. We knew that they were going to shoot the ball as quick as they could. So we said, all right, we're going to fight back. We're going to go right back at them. And no matter how many shots they made on the other end, we went just as fast, pushing it back the other end, and nobody backed down. I mean, from Coach mentioned, Andy and Mike were the younger starters on the team, and then other seniors, Jason Smith, who was an all-tournament team selection that year as well, who I think he was just short of 30 points in that game, and people rarely mention his name, but he was on fire as well, making plenty of shots. And then of course my best friend since day one was John Hacker, and he was the guy who we kind of came out there and assigned him to Teddy, I think, off the start, because he was a physical guard. He was big, strong, quick enough, and I think Teddy got him in 2 quick fouls, if I'm not correct there, Coach. But that's when we had to kind of shift our game plan. When John got a couple fouls and pushed some other guys over, and then we just continuously kept moving across the board. But again, another stat that I think that people forget about that game was, I think Bauer still holds the assist record in the tournament champions. Is that right, Guy?
Yeah. That's right.
Yep. Yeah, so that says a lot to our team and how unselfish these guys were and motivated, and the way we moved the ball. Obviously, it ended up in my hands quite a bit. I don't know, either because I wasn't being guarded, or just the guys knew that I was getting hot as well, and we were just fighting back. But yeah, it was. I mean, it's a memory that passes down to my kids now, and I'm very proud and honored to be mentioned every year when this tournament comes around. And what is it, 22 years ago? And I think when people ask me how many points I scored, I think it's up to like 80 now. So by the time I'm 80 years old, I think I probably would have scored about 85, and Teddy probably would have scored 100 if memory serves me correctly.
Well, Teddy, you had some standout members of your team. Noah West, who did not play in the Friday night game against Hartville, which helped put you in the 5th place game there, and then Ernest Grant, who was also on that team. But it had to be a tremendous experience with them as well.
Oh, yeah, we had a really cool group of guys. It's funny, at our school, all 4 years, my freshman year and sophomore year, we had 8 Division I players on the squad. And then my junior and senior year, all the big guys were gone, and it was me, Ernest, and Noel primarily. Noel, who was just incredible, he doesn't play on Friday night, 7-day Adventist, and that hurt us throughout the season. I think we lost 5 games, and I want to say 5 of them were on Friday nights. So he's very important to our squad. Ernest, obviously, best athlete I've ever been around. Nobody like him, and the best man. He, when I went to Florida, I wore 24 in high school. When I went to Florida, there was a guy with 24. So I was first going to try and talk him into giving it to me, but then I changed my mind, and I wore number 5 all my times at Florida. And then even in the pros, I wore number 5 in honor of Ernest. That was his number. So, he's my best friend. We were dorm mates in college and very, very close. I talked to him yesterday. So, when you're playing, it's cool about high school. You're playing with friends, and then you're going to spend all that time off the court. All the things that make a team good, you automatically do that when you're in high school. But it was a lot of fun, And we as a team, we were ultra small, so we played. Try to play very aggressive in the passing lanes, really push up. We knew in a half-court setting, even if we stopped somebody, we weren't probably going to get the rebound anyway. So we, just kind of calculated if we can go out, really pressure the ball, see if we can get people dribbling up the sideline, get them in a speed dribble. If we could force turnovers, it was worth taking that risk because we could convert it on the other end in transition, and so we'd give up buckets. But I think when a team was willing to pass the ball, which a lot of young point guards are not. We pressure them. They try and dribble through it like they have something to prove. And once we get them in a speed dribble, they're in big trouble. But, when a team's willing to move the ball, pass the ball, and be unselfish, it opens us up to giving up a lot of buckets, especially around the hoop. So, we were just looking for ways to win. That's a lot of fun, but we were small. We were real small.
198 points scored, I believe, that night. So everybody got the ball up and down the floor, and like Coach Archer mentioned, that the 9 or 10 records, single game records, broken in that game. Not to mention the total points in the tournament, which Teddy set. But when you leave there, you come out of that Tournament of Champions experience. Kind of give us an idea of what the rest of each of your seasons were like, and we'll start with Scott.
I'd like to not remember the end of your season. You're talking about it.
I share that thought, Scott.
Yeah, Coach, it's hard to talk about to this day, but we had an amazing year. We had an amazing career there in Bolivar, really leading up to many more successes and great teams after our success. But we obviously our only losses to throughout the season were during the Tournament Champions that year up until the very last game of the season, which most of us remember. We lost in the district championship to Nixa. So that's kind of how it ended. It ended bittersweet, but that's still not easy to talk about 22 years later. But it's great to remember the great times that we did have and the amazing team that was on the court from top to bottom.
And Teddy, what was your remaining season like?
That whole year was really cool. Like I said, we traveled a lot. We played in the KMOX in St. Louis, played in Springfield. We played in City of Palms Classic in Fort Myers, obviously. We played in a Hooters event. We played several just really big marquee events. So the whole year was really fun. After that year, I would go on later in that season to break the all-time Florida scoring record, and that record's still there too. And so that was pretty neat. We went on throughout the season and made a great run deep into the playoffs all the way to the end. But then we ended up losing to Miami Senior High School, who Frank Martin was the coach. He's coach of South Carolina now. They had Udonis Haslam, Wright, Sylvan Robinson, Antonio Latimer, Steve Blake. Basically had 5 NBA players in their starting lineup. But luckily I got 3 of those guys to come with me to Florida on our team that won, SEC championships and went to the Final Four and stuff like that. And that's how we ended that season, number 2. And the same thing we did a few years before against Vince Carter and the crew. We were ranked 6th in the country. We lost in a state championship to Daytona Beach Mainland. So, then we finished 2nd when I was in college. We lost in a national championship game to Michigan State. So, if you listen to my dad, he'll tell you I'm the best loser in the country.
Well, did you guys have an opportunity? after that historic night, back in '98, did you ever have another opportunity to meet, or did you kind of follow each other's careers a little bit? Because I know, Scott, you had an opportunity to play in the Sweet 16, and Teddy, you were talking about your postseason at the college level. Did you guys maybe pay attention a little bit?
Absolutely, yeah. I still recall to this day when we did meet after the game or during the all-tournament team announcements. Teddy was like, "Hey, I'll see you in the NCAA tournament," because we kind of both knew at that time we both had an opportunity to be there, and we did. Little did we know, a year later we were able to play in the big stage at Missouri State and get to the tournament and play against Wisconsin, Tennessee, and then Duke in the Sweet 16. And then I think it was the year after, the year beyond that is whenever Teddy would get to the championship game at Florida. But yeah, definitely followed him just as close as any other, players. That it's just kind of the thing that you do after you play against someone is gonna shine on the big stage. It's neat to turn around and watch them and see how they do. And then again, 20 years later, I've got two boys that are asking me, "Hey, who'd you play against? Anybody in the NBA?" And then that list goes down, and Teddy's name's always on there as well, because that's a big name down here and across the country that people will always reflect back on, especially during these times when we don't have an NCAA tournament. It's a great time to reflect and look back on those games and relive them.
Teddy, same question there. Did you have an opportunity there maybe to kind of follow along a little bit? I know you were busy as well.
Oh yeah. You always follow the guys you play against, and like Scott said, when you get good enough, and that's always the key. People ask me, "What's the key to getting a scholarship?" It's be good enough. Those guys get paid millions of dollars to find the best players. It's not about exposure and that kind of stuff. If you're good enough, they're going to find you. But when you play against guys that earn your respect, you'll see them later. And, you always want the guys you play against to do well. It's kind of like if you're rooting for XYZ team and they lose in the Sweet 16, you kind of want that team that beat you to go all the way. It makes you feel like you lost to a winner. It gives it a little, makes you feel better about yourself. And then obviously we've been able to jump on the calls here, a handful of times over, 20 years. But yeah, during the Bass Pro out there, we've had these calls, and when you look back on it, it's a little easier to talk about yourself now that it was just so long ago. When you're coming up, you always want to be humble and you want to deflect. But when you look back on what we did, people are still talking about it. Those records are there, and at the end of the day, you brought a lot of happiness and joy to people by playing the game of basketball, and to have, a person way out there talking to their kids about me way over here, down here is I'll tell you, it's pretty flattering and pretty neat. It's really, really cool.
Well, it's still the game that we've talked about around this area and the tournament champions more than any other. And Coach Archer, maybe the only time in the history of basketball that a coach walks off to a standing ovation after giving up 103 points.
Yes. Yeah, that was the most amazing thing was there were two teams out there just battling everything they had, especially after playing two previous nights and pretty contested games. But to walk off that floor after the game to a standing ovation in a fifth place game was pretty amazing. And Teddy, I've got a question for you, just for the record, and for my own personal well-being. Didn't you score over 60 points like a week or two after you hit 58 on us?
Oh yeah, I hit. We all the time really. I had 70 in one of the playoff games. We had games. I remember the first game of the year. I had the first 7 plays of the second half, 7 for 7, 7 threes, and I had 55 points with 5 minutes to go in the third quarter. And coach pulled me out. He's like, "It's a long season." So, he was not, leave me in at all costs. I averaged 42 for the season, but there were a lot of games where I didn't play the fourth quarter and we were beating teams bad, and he'd take me out. So, our offense was designed to let it fly.
Yeah.
And, so, we put the time in, we put the work in, and I practiced, as much or more as anybody possibly could. There's only so much time in the day, and I took a lot of pride in that. But with that said, I see 100% of the coaches now, even with people doing it in the league, they really limit what kids can do. And our coach was pretty open to, the best shot we could get is one that I took, and that was a good offensive plan. We slow it down and we start running plays, double teams and triple teams actually become, a real deterrent to shoot. There's better shots. But if you're in transition most of the time, and even if 2 or 3 guys are guarding you and they're backing up, or they're forced to pick you up at half court, that gives me a lot more room to maneuver around them and get to my spots. So, by just playing the style of play that was beneficial for us. And then 3 years later, you had a big exchange student, a couple 6'8" guys, pretty good heady guards that couldn't shoot. And they still played fast. They still pushed the ball. But he was able to adjust his coaching style for the pieces that he had. And the pieces he had with me were to let us loose. And I really am thankful for that. Because I don't think I'm so small that had he not done that and in that humble and open as a coach, who knows if I would have got the looks. Because when you look at me, you wouldn't think, hey, let's give this guy a chance for at the next level. He had to let me show my stuff. And so that is something that I do not overlook, and I didn't then either. And it's really changed my life.
So, Coach, what I take from that answer, just to clarify, is we held just a hair over his average, so that's pretty good defense in that.
After all these years, I can finally rest easy at night.
Wow. Hey,
Let me ask you guys this. Do you have I know this seems crazy. Is there a video of that game?
There is, and I'm trying to track it down. There's a couple players that I think may have it. I'm still trying to get in contact with them, and hopefully we can get that back out and get you a copy of it.
That's how long ago it was. I got a lot of games like that. We played Compton Dominguez. They were number 1. They had Tayshaun Prince, Tyson Chandler, Kenny Bruner, Jason Thomas. I want to say Trevor Ariza was young and on the bench, didn't play. They were number 1 in America. I think we played them. We lost by 1 point in the city of Palms, and nobody has the darn game on film. And that's how ancient stuff is. Crazy.
I will do my best to track it down for you.
Let's get that baby on YouTube. Let's get some views.
You bet. That's right.
Well, gentlemen, I certainly appreciate you guys all of you being generous with your time. This was, it's 25 minutes long, and I could have went 2 hours. But it's fun to look back on, and I really appreciate you guys being generous with your time and allowing me to kind of break into your daily routine, although people probably aren't doing much right now, but I appreciate it.
Sure thing. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you, Guy, for putting this together.
Hey, you bet. Coach Archer, thanks as well.
You bet. Thank you.
You bet. We're going to step away, take a quick time out.
This has been a presentation of the Missouri Sports Network. Thank you.
And we want to thank you for joining us here on Allen Hilliard Sports for this pregame and all the games that we cover here. We're going to take a short break. Word from Security Bank of Pulaski County. Then it'll be live action for basketball. We'll see you in a few from St. James High School. Security Bank is a proud supporter of Allen Hilliard Sports, and they are the main supporter this year and sponsor of all broadcasts with Allen Hilliard Sports. They've been around since World War II through the thick and the thin, supporting the Waynesville-St. Robert community through all these years of growth, and continue to support the Waynesville-St. Robert community through 2 locations in Waynesville and St. Robert, one in downtown by the courthouse, the other location in St. Robert. Be sure to check out Security Bank of Pulaski County for all your banking needs. They are member FDIC, whether it be car loan, house loan, they can make it happen. Again, thank you, Security Bank, for all your support. And Security Bank wishes the best for all the Tigers and Lady Tigers this season in all their competitions, whether it be arts or athletics. Again, Security Bank of Pulaski County, 2 convenient locations.
You